Hey guys, we're back. I wanted to give you guys an in-depth update on what's happening here in the real estate market. And I got a couple of graphs here, and I glanced over this, but I thought it might be better if I just kind of talk out loud as I'm working through this and kind of the journey of what's happened. So let's get this kicked off. Let's go ahead and present it. Awesome, guys. So good data here. This is actually coming in all the way up to July. And the first couple things that we're going to look at here are median months of inventory, median days on market. This trajectory here as we're looking back, looking in November, December, these are traditionally slower months anyway, so inventory should rise. But if we remember back, we're looking into May, June of last year is where the interest rates went up. And that's where the entire market was like, oh my God, right? So they basically, a lot of people went from looking at a $350,000 house, woke up, 3 weeks later and can only afford a $290,000 house, which you could imagine is a huge hit. So what progressed coming into this year is people started to accept this is where the interest rate is, and this is just a much better solution than renting, right? Because essentially when we're renting, we're paying 100% interest. So they went ahead and married the house and decided to date the rate. They know that they'll refinance in the future. Um, been going down for a while. Last 2 months we're up a little tick here, but nothing crazy. Median days on market, as you'll see, these graphs do coincide in some ways. And this is supply and demand. The less supply that we have, the more eager people are to go ahead and take up that supply. Now, flip that on its head, as we had more, your median days on market are going to go up, right? So they do coincide. This will lag behind because people are listing brand new. Lags up to January if you're comparing it to November, which gets you to 61 days, ironically. So as we moved forward, inventory goes down, days on market go down, and properties are, we don't have from 4 years ago, but this is still a pretty fast time to sell your house. So definitely not as fast as COVID. It's good for buyers, not as good for sellers, but you're still in a really good spot. So nice little market that we're in. So this is a good one. So active listing count and pending listing count. Looking back last year, we actually have more pending listings than we did this time last year, which shows me that the demand is still just fine. Now, the active listing is down. This coincides a little bit with the pendings, but aside from that, we are getting less new listings. People are more resistant to list their house because of the age-old question. If I sell this, where am I going to go? And if I'm walking away from a 3% interest rate, does it really make sense to pick up a 6.5, 7% interest rate? The other alternative I've seen a lot of is people deciding to rent their home, which is a great alternative. It's a great idea to keep something so you can build a little passive wealth. All right, the tail of the tape. So going back into June, as you can see, our median list price and our median listing price per square foot was higher. Supply and demand. Houses were going, it didn't even matter. I remember walking into listing appointments and to some effect just asking people what they wanted to list for a period of time because properties were commonly selling over list, over appraised value. People were paying the difference. It was a very, very aggressive time. But moving forward, as we see here, coinciding with our past graphs, people adjusting to the interest rate, obviously dollars per square foot went down. And then we came to a realization, following to every other graph, right? January, February, March, people are starting to have a little more confidence in the market. Prices go back up per square foot. Looking over to the listing price, exact same story. Now, there's a little bias in that data. The bias in that data is that with the interest rates going up dramatically compared to median household incomes, naturally the homes that are going to move are going to be the homes that are under a certain price point. Like for us in Hernando County, that price point is 310,000. If you have a property that's under 310,000, it is selling quickly. We are having a lot of showings over the weekend. If it's over that number, it's slower. There's less showings. They're still selling, but there's not as much demand for that, and it just makes sense because of the amount of money that it costs for that mortgage. And for our last slide here, it's a good graphic for all this data, right? Just to see that the median square foot has been stable, which means that we're looking at the same data set, right? Like that there's not a massive variance in data set. Like where you see here in April where it dropped down to 1748, Well, that means that there were a lot more homes that were smaller that sold that month. But across the board here, you're in the 1800s for almost every one, so it shows you the data is pretty strong. Lastly, you got the number of homes with price reductions. Obviously coincide with the data, right? So inventory goes up, which means that there is more supply than demand. People start to make price reductions as they go through, but as you see here, much less. And that's because we have demand. Supply is still very low, not as crazy as during the COVID years, but still very aggressive. But it's still a fair market, right? Good for sellers. They can get good prices on their homes. Buyers can actually locate a home that they like instead of just putting an offer on every single home that fits their criteria. So, good things, guys. I hope this is helpful for you. If it is, and you're getting this via email or you're seeing it on social media, drop me a comment. I'd love to see if this data is helping you guys out, see how I can help and what information I might be able to add more of. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you made it to this point, you've watched the entire video, and I appreciate you guys, and I hope you have a blessed day.